You can scream the truth into someone's soul, but if they've decided to stay blind, they won't hear a word. You can sacrifice everything to save them, your time, your energy, your peace. But if they're not ready to see themselves, your efforts will only burn you out. Here's a painful truth. You can't save anyone who refuses to see themselves, and maybe, just maybe, that was never your job to begin with. We're taught that helping others is noble, that saving someone from destruction is an act of love. But what if it's not? What if it's actually a form of control? The savior complex doesn't always wear a cape. Sometimes it wears a kind smile, a listening ear, and a deep, hidden fear that if you don't fix them, something inside you will fall apart too. Carl Jung called this shadow projection, the unconscious need to fix in others what we haven't healed in ourselves. So we search for broken people. We throw ourselves into their chaos. We whisper, "I can help you. I can save you." But what we're really saying is, "Please let me avoid my own pain by focusing on yours." And the tragedy, the more you try to rescue someone from their suffering, the more they cling to it, because the pain has become their identity. And your efforts feel like a threat, not a gift. So the harder you pull, the more they resist. And what began as love becomes a war. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and seen nothing, not emptiness but resistance? A wall, a refusal. It's not that they don't see the truth, it's that they won't. Because to truly see yourself is terrifying. It means facing the lies you've told yourself. It means pulling off the mask and meeting the eyes behind it. It means shattering the stories you built to survive. Most people don't want that. They want comfort, familiarity, control even. If it's slowly killing them, so they look away from the mirror. They blame the world. They point fingers. They run from stillness because silence is too loud. The philosopher Kierkegaard once said, "There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is." This is the second kind. The refusal to see isn't just ignorance, it's self-protection. You can hold the mirror up for them. You can whisper truth into their silence. But if they close their eyes, the mirror reflects nothing. And the hardest question you'll ever face is this: have I ever been that person too? You can't awaken someone with words. You can't shock them into awareness with advice, therapy, or pleading. Only one thing has ever cracked the walls of resistance: pain. It's the one teacher no one asks for, but everyone remembers. Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And he was right. Pain is sacred. It strips away illusions. It breaks down everything false, everything shallow, everything that hides the soul. It feels cruel, but it's not. It's precise, intelligent, unforgiving, and yet deeply loving. Because pain doesn't lie. It doesn't negotiate. It forces us to sit with ourselves, raw and exposed. That's why so many people run from it, because it doesn't just hurt. It reveals. You may try to protect someone from pain. You may try to soften the blow or take it on yourself. But pain is often the very thing they need to face what they've avoided. And here's the brutal wisdom of life: what you try to shield them from may be the very thing that saves them. Sometimes helping isn't help. Sometimes support becomes sabotage, not because you meant to do harm, but because you tried to interrupt a sacred process. There's a story from the Taoist tradition. Man sees a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. Moved by compassion, he cuts the cocoon open to help it escape. But without the struggle, the butterfly's wings never strengthen, and it dies, unable to fly. This is the karma of intervention. When you interfere with someone's spiritual process, even with love, you may be robbing them of the exact pressure needed to evolve. In Buddhism, this is understood as karma, the soul's path of learning through experience. And some lessons must come through fire, not comfort, not conversation, only fire. You can offer a hand, but if they reject it, you must let go. Otherwise, you entangle yourself in their lesson. You burn for a fire that wasn't yours. Let them struggle, let them fall, let them rise, or not. This is not cruelty, it is respect. If you can't save them, what can you do? The answer is harder than it sounds. You wake up yourself. Your inner clarity becomes a ripple, a quiet energy that moves through others, without force, without demand. Ramana. Maharshi said, "The greatest service you can do is to realize yourself. Because when one person fully sees themselves, it creates space for others to do the same. You become a mirror, not a lecture, a presence, not a persuasion." And this is the paradox. The more at peace you are with your own shadows, the more others feel safe to face theirs. No words required, no heroics needed. This is silent service, invisible transformation, and it's more powerful than any attempt to fix someone who isn't ready. So ask yourself, am I willing to do the work, even if no one follows? That's real leadership. That's true love. That's awakening. Letting go feels like giving up, but often it's the most sacred act of love. To let someone fall, to let them walk into darkness, to release the belief that you know what's best for them. This is not abandonment, it's humility. You are not their God, you are not their guide, you are a witness, a presence, a mirror. Zen teaches, let go or be dragged, because clinging to someone else's journey will only pull you into their storm. True love doesn't rescue, it doesn't fix, it holds space. It says, I see you, I trust your path, even if it breaks my heart. This is the hardest kind of love, the love that steps back, that honors free will, that lets the soul speak, even if the voice is silence. And when you do this, you free them. But more importantly, you free yourself. Here's the final twist. The people you've tried to save were mirrors. Mirrors reflecting the very parts of yourself you didn't want to face. Their blindness triggered your own. Their chaos reminded you of something inside that never felt safe. Their pain echoed wounds you've spent your whole life avoiding. So maybe, just maybe, you weren't trying to save them. You were trying to save you. The part of you that still believed love had to be earned. The part that felt valuable only when being needed. The part that feared, deep down, that you weren't enough, unless someone else depended on you. This is the hidden root of the savior complex, and when you see it, everything shifts. You stop fighting their demons, you start facing your own, and slowly, something softens. You become the space you always wanted to give others. You become the light you tried to force into their darkness. You become free, because now, finally, you see yourself. Closing reflection, you can't save anyone who refuses to see themselves, but you can become the kind of presence that no longer needs to. And in that quiet, sacred freedom, you discover the only person you were ever meant to save was you. What if the people we're trying to save aren't drowning? What if they're clinging desperately to the very chains we think we're breaking? This is the paradox that haunts the empath, the seeker, the healer. The belief that if we just love harder, speak louder, guide better, we can pull someone out of the darkness they refuse to acknowledge. But here's the truth, brutal, mystical, and liberating. You cannot save anyone who refuses to see themselves. There's an illusion we rarely question, that our insight can replace someone else's awakening, that our clarity can become their mirror. But mirrors don't force reflection, they only offer it, and some people choose to turn away. In trying to lift others from their chaos, we enter a labyrinth with no exit. Our hands stretch out, but they grasp at shadows, and in that grasping we begin to drown too. This isn't a failure of love, it's the nature of truth, because transformation doesn't begin with rescue, it begins with recognition. And that cannot be given. It must rise from within. There is a reason why most people resist change, even when they're suffering. It's not because they don't want peace. It's because peace demands a price. the death of illusion. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to see, the rage, the shame, the helplessness buried beneath our smiles. To face the shadow is to dissolve the persona. It's terrifying. It feels like annihilation. In the East, they called it the grand illusion. How veil so convincing, it seduces us into believing that our ego is our identity, and our pain is our destiny. And so, people cling to their stories. I am broken. This is just who I am. No one can understand me. These aren't just beliefs, they're armor. Ancient mystics understood this long before modern psychology. Plato spoke of the cave, where people stare at shadows on the wall, refusing to turn toward the light because it burns. In the Gnostic texts, it is said that ignorance is not mere unawareness. It is chosen blindness. Because to truly see oneself, raw, unfiltered, stripped of all pretense, is to risk collapsing the very structure of our self-concept. And many would rather suffer than surrender.